Okay, I will go ahead and mute you now. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the group. And just like last week when we did the part 1 of the road to 1,000 per week team training, each one of the 20 categories, you want to rate yourself from 1 being very low, 10 being very, very high. So you want to rate yourself in each one of the pillars as we go through, and you can just put them in the comment section or put them in your notebook, and then send me. You can send me a screenshot of your rating in each one of your categories as we go through. That way we know when we're finished where to do the work. Make sense? And if you guys have any questions, just put them in the comment, or you can raise your hand, and I'll see your image. Let me switch this here. There we go. Okay, so last week we did the first 10. Today we will start with number 11, which is to set the proper expectations. And I think it's very important that we set the proper expectations with our new associates from the very, very beginning. If you remember last week, we said that people often overestimate what they can do in 1 year, and they dramatically underestimate what they can do in like 3 to 5 years. So we want to make sure that we do set people's expectations properly, because I believe that the number one thing that makes people quit in business is they have the wrong expectations, right? If you're planning on getting a six-pack in the gym in a month, you're going to be disappointed. Right? So obviously that's something that takes time. So you want to make sure that you have the proper expectations. That doesn't mean that people can't grow really, really quickly. They can. And, you want to empower people that want to grow quickly and set up a strategy to help them do that. But the reality is, you want to set up the proper expectations. So if we're following the 1 3 5 7 rule, it's basically, in your first year you can make money, and you'll build skills, you'll build competency in the $1 million skills, the 7 skills that you learn in Eric Worre's Go Pro book. And then that's year 1, and then generally 2 to 3 is what Carmen says. You can build a full part-time income, right? A solid part-time income, which means basically sort of gold and above. And then 5 years is what she says. That's sort of what you want to shoot for, a close to a 6-figure income. And then 7 years and beyond is where you get mastery, and this is where you can build multiple 6-figure incomes and beyond. And remember, these are, we're building residual incomes. So, we're not trying to make a whole bunch of money all at once that then goes down and then up and down, right? We want to build solid residual income because that's what creates wealth. Okay, so in terms of proper expectations, the reality is that anybody can do this business, but not everybody will, okay? And we'll go over a little bit later some of the proper expectations in terms of the retention of your new associates that come into the business. We talked about this last time as well, but because of people's improper expectations and the low barrier of entry, right? Somebody can become an entrepreneur for $200-300. That is the cost of entry is very low, which means it's very easy to quit. And so that will make what they call the turnover, or the people that quit, it'll keep those numbers high. So that's why it's so important that you focus on your weekly action plan and your DMO, which is your daily method of operation, and you keep your funnel full. if you, I don't, if you've, so funnel, the word funnel is sort of it's a term that they use in the sales industry, but it's basically, you know, your funnel is people that you introduce to the opportunity, and then you move them from exposure, and then the funnel goes down into, you know, follow-up presentation. The farther down people get into the funnel, which means the more exposures that they get, the closer that they get to becoming a customer or an associate. And the idea is that if you keep your funnel full, which means you're always bringing in new leads and you're always talking to new people about USANA, then a ratio will appear. So we usually tell people, out of every 10 presentations, you can expect 1 to 2 new associates, right? As a general industry average, that's a ratio that is generally accepted across the board. However, as time goes on, that ratio will improve, right? My ratio of exposing new people to USANA and then getting them to be an associate is much higher, you know, because I've been in the business for quite a while and I've mastered a lot of those skills. But the most important thing is that you know what your ratio is by introducing more people, keeping your funnel full, and then your conversion ratios will appear over time as long as you're taking consistent activity. So these are some things to keep in mind. So generally speaking, right? Obviously, you know, it's different for different people, but generally speaking, if you bring in 10 new distributors, 2 of them will quit within the first 3 months. 6 of them will often be just customers. Okay, so they're people that come in and they never really had an intention to do this as a business. They wanted to make, you know, maybe a little bit of money referring some friends and family. And now that we have the PC bonus, it's even easier for people to be in this sort of average quadrant, because they can get the preferred customer bonus just by simply recommending USANA to other people. So, you know, 6 of your customers will be basically what we call referral partners. And then out of those 10, you'll get 1 or 2 that are good, and, you know, 1 that is going to be, you know, good or above average. And so those are the general expectations. So Inta's going through a little bit of this now at the moment, but a lot of times you get people that come in and they'll just say yes because, you know, they want to, you know, they like you and they want to say yes, or they want to try the products, or, you know, they say yes for whatever reason. But when you ask them, you know, are you interested in learning more about the compensation plan or about the products, whatever, they just have, you know, other stuff going on, or it's not a priority for them, or they're just not interested. And that's totally okay. You know, this business is not for everyone. Not everyone is built to be an entrepreneur. And so that's okay. So it's important to understand that people come and go, and this business is not for everyone. So you want to bring some acceptance to that. As I've been sharing with Inta recently, your goal is, when people to come in, is not to get them to do the business, but just find out what their goals are, right? Some people, they come in, they want to, you know, they want to make a couple extra, you know, a couple $100 a month, because they want to get their products paid for. Some people want to make a couple of $1,000s a year because they want to get, you know, they want to get a new car, or they want to get a television, or they want to go on a vacation, whatever. Some people will come in and they just want to get the tax advantages, you know, and that's also a possibility as well. So the key is that you don't want to push people to do something. You want to find out what their goal is, and then empower that. You know, just as an example, my wife Simmer and her sister Deep, who are now, you know, they're gold directors and they do USANA full time. They did basically nothing for 2.5 years. Their first year in the business, they didn't make any commissions because they didn't enroll any people, but they got $6,000 back in their tax return their first year. And the second year, they got almost $9,000 in tax returns because they were homeowners, and they claimed, you know, the car payments, a portion of their mortgage, their television, all that stuff, right? So we taught them how to take advantage of the tax advantages as an employee, and claiming the USANA as a tax break. And so, you know, for some people that's motivating enough to help them, you know, make that transition. So you never know. I didn't have a lot of expectations for Simmer and Deep to do the business, but over time they went to convention. You know, they came to trainings, they took the product, they fell in love with the product, and ultimately they converted basically from a customer into an associate. So you never know. So the other thing about this is the averages are the averages, right? These are ratios that have emerged over long periods of time. So they are pretty consistent. But you know, we say you get 2 good out of every 10. That doesn't mean your first 10 you'll get 2 good ones, right? It might take you 20 or 30 or 40 to get the ratio to appear. You know, Carmen always says, you know, it might take you 40 associates to get the 4, you know, it could be your last 4 people of those 40. So the ratios will generally hold across time, but it doesn't mean that every 10 you're going to get your 1 or 2 good ones. Okay. Sometimes you'll go through a drought, you'll get none, and then all of a sudden, you know, you'll get a bunch. That's just the way that it works. Your job is to stay consistent over time. So you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. So this is a saying that I believe is not just in network marketing, but in general, right? If somebody is interested in something, then it doesn't really matter what you say, right? You can say all the right things, but if somebody's not interested, they're not interested. It's not going to make any difference. And you can say, I have firsthand knowledge of this. You can say all the wrong things, right? You can do a terrible presentation, and it doesn't matter. If somebody's looking and they like what they see with USANA, they've seen a couple of videos, it's not really about you, right? They see this, they're looking for the opportunity, they're ready to go. So it's important to remember that you don't worry about getting things perfect or having it be, you know, great. It's not about that, right? When you're in, especially when you're in the beginning, it's a learning phase, and trust the third-party resources. And just trust that if you're doing your DMO and your weekly action plan and you're doing it consistently, you're going to meet the right people. That's just the way that it is. So number 12 is train and empower your team. Okay, it's very important that when people first start, that you get them into a training program as soon as possible, because the reality is that people are never more motivated than they are when they first begin. So you don't want to overbear them with videos and trainings and like that, right? You don't want to do too much all at once, because if the person is not super hungry and you're just giving them a bunch of videos, then they'll get overwhelmed and they'll do nothing. Always remember, confused people do nothing. So if you give somebody too much information all at once, then they'll do nothing, right? So the best thing to do is you give them one video at a time, ask them to give you what they've learned, and then give them another video, ask them to write down and send back to you what they learned, and then just go like that through the company, the products, Dr. Wentz's story, like that. So you sort of go one video at a time, and you're going through that training process with them. Okay. So I always, I think the first 2 to 3 months when somebody's in the business are the most crucial time. That's their premium platinum pace setter time. That's when, you know, if they can get preferred customers, they can start getting some wins, some little wins stacked up over time. Then they'll stick around, and, you know, they'll have some fun. They'll enjoy the process, like that, right? Once USANA gets into people's their heart and to their blood, generally people will stick around forever. But you wanna really make sure that you're guiding people um, in the beginning as much as you can. So you want to put some agreements and some accountability into place. Okay, so like I said, work closely with new associates for 3 months. Have a weekly call set up. Okay, this is really important for just checking in with people, making sure that that they have their weekly action plan, they have their DMO, they're doing it daily. I like to at least touch base with my new people, um, at least every other day, if not every day, just to check in. Hey, how are you doing? How are things going? Like that. Um, but bare minimum, you want to have a coaching call booked in each week, once a week, where you can go over, you know, what's been going well, what are some areas where maybe they're struggling and they want a little bit of help in, like that. So that weekly call is super important. And then the weekly action plan, I can't overstate this. The weekly action plan and the DMO are really the heart and soul of this business. If someone is going to have success in USANA, it will be because they're tracking their weekly action and they're tracking their daily activity. Not just in USANA. If somebody's going to be successful in fitness or their job, or, you know, or in USANA, they will be tracking their activity. Anything that you do not track, it will not end up, you won't get the result that you want. It's just the way that it happens. So to me, it's really important where you have that weekly coaching call with the person, and they're submitting their weekly action plan each week, so that they're staying focused. If they're having any troubles, you know, you can get that stuff out of the way so they can stay focused. And it's best if you can do it somewhere around the Sunday or Monday. If you'll notice, if you go too far into the week without reconnecting with your purpose for the week and getting really clear about what your weekly goals are, then the farther into the week that you get, the less focus that you'll have on what it is that you're trying to create. If you can put a practice in place where either Sunday night's usually a good time, but Sunday or Monday, you're reconnecting to your why, you're setting your CVP goal for the week, you're setting your weekly targets for the week, you're much more likely to reach those at the end of the week. You got to keep your eye on the prize. And then it's very important that you empower people versus enable people. Okay, this was a huge weakness of mine in the beginning, because when I first started, I got really frustrated. I actually signed up my younger brother as an associate, and he went to convention and he was like super fired up, and he wanted to be the leader in Maryland, and he was like super pumped. And I was a pretty new leader. I was a pretty new associate at that time. I think I was a silver director. And I didn't really know how to coach him. I didn't know how to train him properly. So what I knew was how to do things myself. And so I just did everything. So we signed up about maybe 10 of his friends and some people in this local area. And I ended up, every time somebody had a question, I would jump in and do it. Every time somebody needed a presentation, I would jump in and do it. I did the weekly trainings every single week. It was me. I did everything. And what ended up happening was, because I wasn't mentoring anyone or duplicating what I was doing with them, when I went to Indonesia, my entire American leg just collapsed. My brother quit and everybody else in that team quit. So that was when I learned that lesson loud and clear, which is it might take a little bit more time when you're actually mentoring with someone. So it might be easier for you to go in, sorry, it might be faster and easier for you to go in and do it for them, but ultimately it slows down their growth and development, right? It's like having it's like having a kid where you tie their shoe every day, right? They go to school and maybe their shoelaces look magical, right? They have perfectly tied shoes, but if they don't know how to tie their own shoe, you're actually doing them a disservice, right? So the key is to empower and don't enable. So when you have associates, for example, that ask you questions, the best thing to do is show them where they can find the answers on their own. Okay, they might get annoyed with you, and it might take them some extra time, but you're going to teach them how to do things themselves, so that when they get their own people, they'll always do what you do. So if you teach them that you do everything for them, when they get new people that come in, they're gonna try to do everything for their new people, or worse, they're gonna try to get you to do everything for their new people, and that does not duplicate. Once you get 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 people in your organization, if you're the person that's doing all the work, nobody's going to be successful. Okay? So you have to just Eric Worre always says, it doesn't matter what works. Okay? It only matters what duplicates. So you have to ask yourself, will this duplicate over time? If the answer to that question is no, then you cannot do that action. Okay? That's a general rule. And then the other side is the other point there is building both sides of someone's business. Okay. I also made this mistake a lot in the beginning. And that is in our business, you only have two sides. So you have a left and a right. Okay. Oftentimes you can help by making a power leg. And you can help your new associates by putting other people underneath of them. But if you put people on both sides of someone's business and they start getting paid for not taking action, then you have made them weak. Okay. Again, I always go back to you know kids or your young people like that, right? If you spoil them, they're never going to grow up and be able to live life and stand on their own 2 feet, right? Same thing in this business. You cannot build both sides of people's business, because it doesn't duplicate, and it will make weak leaders over time. So people need to be able to earn their own commissions and build their own business. So remember, in each one of these areas, you guys want to be rating yourselves. So when it comes to managing your energy as a leader, this is something that becomes more and more important over time. So a lot of these points that we're making, if you guys, if you're new and you don't have a lot of people in your team, it doesn't matter, right? You need to learn these principles, because once you learn these principles, the universe will know when you're ready. It'll actually start delivering you more associates, because you're in your mindset, you're stepping into the understanding of what it takes to be a leader. So managing your energy as a leader, you want to make yourself dispensable. Okay, this is something that I've been working really hard on in my team in Indonesia, and I'm very grateful, actually, that I know that this pandemic has come with lots of things that have not been good for a lot of people. But for me, one good thing that has come out of it is I've been forced to move to the US and to be here and to be away from my team there. So they cannot depend on me for a lot of the things that they were depending on me for. And the results of that has been, we have all these new leaders that are stepping up and filling that vacuum of leadership. And filling that void of leadership. And that's something that's been extremely good. And I think long term, it will help me create the freedom that of being wherever I want, that I didn't have when I moved from the US to Indonesia, right? So I'm going to make sure that I don't recreate the same mistake that I made when I went from the US to Indonesia. One of the best ways that you can do that is to plug your team into the corporate trainings. So like every week we put the corporate training schedule into our WhatsApp group so that you guys know when the trainings are happening. Okay, when you get new people, you want to really plug them into those corporate trainings because those are high level trainings. You know, I think it's every Tuesday, somebody from the corporate office, usually Austin, who is like super genius, is doing training on the products. You know, that is like high level training. Dr. Ladd, who, you know, he's been with USANA for 24 years. Every Wednesday, he's doing, he's picking one of the optimizers and he's doing trainings on the optimizers. Every Thursday night at this time, we have the work from home presentation, right? Which is that's a guest presentation where you can invite your people and they can learn about the opportunity to work with USANA, right? These are trainings that you want to be using as a leader to plug your team into them, so that they become independent. And that ultimately is the goal. This is rule number one that Eric Worre says in GoPro is the ultimate goal from the very, very beginning should be able to make your new people as independent of you as possible. So number 13 is personal productivity. Okay, again, this is something that I've been very guilty of in the past. Like all of these points, I've gone through all of this, right? So this is why I know all of these points are so true. And that is that you have to, at least to 50 and 100K, you have to constantly be um, recruiting and sponsoring new people. Because remember, only 1 or 2 out of every 10 are going to be people that you can count on as strong associates that are going to be building their own business. And what that means is, as you're building multiple legs in your business over time, you're going to have to keep bringing in new leaders and creating new teams, right? Because once you start building on 4 legs in your USANA business, your income will just start multiplying. And but that's going to require that you keep bringing in your new associates, right? Because remember, it really only takes 1 or 2 strong leaders on each one of your legs to set up that long-term residual income. If you have one gold director basically on each leg, you're an emerald director making multiple 6 figures for, you know, for forever. And so once you start building on those, have 4 solid legs, now you have passive residual income long term. Okay. But you don't want to rely on your team to be building those strong legs for you, right? It's not the right mindset. It will cause frustration. And if you're waiting on other people to do stuff for you, it's not emotionally, it'll cause a lot of ups and downs, and it's just not good. Right. So you want to make sure that you stay in that sponsoring mode until you're, I think Carmen says at least Ruby or Emerald. So you want to be spending 70% of your time doing income producing activities: prospecting, inviting, presenting, following up, getting new distributors started, right? Those are the 5 income producing activities. The other 30% you can spend training your new associates in their first couple of months in the business. And what you're training them in is their weekly action plan, their DMO, and then those 5 income producing activities. Okay. And you want to beware of what Carmen calls management mode. And management mode is something that I've been guilty of over time. Right. And I'm just sort of moving out of that at the moment. I was a gold director for like almost 2 years. So that is because instead of personally sponsoring new people and then being able to place them wherever I want in my organization and multiplying my income, I was basically just managing and doing presentations for the people that were in my team. And when you support your team, that's great, and it creates solid income, but it doesn't grow. It doesn't really grow your income. So you want to make sure that you're doing the sponsoring, which multiplies your income, and then empowering your team, which solidifies your income. So ultimately what you want to do is grow and then solidify, and then grow and then solidify. So you have to make, in order to do that, you have to be sponsoring new people. So you have to really keep doing that. And then you want to make sure that your team can see you in action, right? That's what she means by stay in the field with your team. It means stay on the front lines, be in the trainings, do presentations for the people that are in your team, do these three-way calls, really have them be able to see you leading trainings, doing your own personal productivity, sponsoring your own people like that, right? You want to lead from the front and make sure that they're following your example. Number 14 is focus on what you want. Okay. This is like the law of attraction, right? You guys have probably heard, if you've been in personal development for a long time, that whatever you focus on expands. And this is another thing that Carmen really taught me. Okay. I'd heard this principle millions of times, but I knew it intellectually and not experientially. And one of the things that she had us do was track our CVP. So like literally opening up my phone every day and looking at my hub and seeing my CVP every day, like looking at it every day. Pay attention to your money, right? And that made such a huge difference for me. As soon as I started tracking my income, within a couple of months, I won the Leadership Summit trip to Korea, and I went gold, literally within a couple of months of tracking my income. And so if you're not paying attention to it, right, it's just not going to grow. So, me not being a super money focused person, right? I'm more of a contribution oriented person. I really had to train myself to pay attention to my money. And so this was a principle that really made a difference to me. And then the other part of that is, if you find yourself, this is where you have to check in with yourself. If you find yourself resisting something, okay, everybody will resist certain things about this business. Maybe they say, I'm not good with technology. They resist technology. Or I'm not good at presenting. They resist presenting. Or I'm not a money person, right? This is a money limiting belief. So anytime you have a fear or you're resisting something, you want to really pay extra special attention to that, because that is an area, instead of moving away from it, you want to move into it. You want to pay attention, because oftentimes your fear is a GPS for exactly what you need to be paying attention to. So if I fear, for example, judgment, and so I'm afraid of prospecting, I need to lean into prospecting. I need to reach out to my mentor and say, hey, I'm having this fear. Can you help me lean into this fear? So just keep that in mind. If you find yourself resisting something in life, oftentimes that's not a sign that you need to move away from it, but actually pay attention, because often that's your life speaking to you, saying, pay attention to me. And thoughts, sometimes they say thoughts become things, right? Whatever you focus on, you manifest. So make sure that you're paying attention to what you want, right? If you're constantly complaining and you're focusing on what's not working, you're going to get more of what's not working, right? So make sure that you're paying attention to your thoughts and you're paying attention to your language, because your words will create your world. And when it comes to language, no colluding. Okay, if you don't know what colluding means, it means don't get into gossiping and some sort of agreement reality, right? A lot of times people that are in the team, they'll start whispering to each other and talking to each other. And if somebody has a complaint about the compensation plan or a complaint about their leader or whatever the case may be, then it creates agreement between people, and it creates gossip. And when you start getting that type of dynamic, it can really destroy a culture of a team. So you want to make sure that when you're what they say is that talk up when you're down. So that means if you're feeling disempowered, talk to your mentor, get some coaching, ask them to help you see things a different way, right? And then when you're excited, when things are going well, when you're empowered, that's when you want to talk to your team. So you talk up when you're down, and you talk down when you're up, when you're excited. So that doesn't mean that you have to pretend or be fake, right? People can tell when you're fake. That doesn't work, right? You want to make sure that you're being real. Just don't complain with people or just agree with their complaints, right? You want to be authentic. I've been through a lot of ups and downs in this business. So when people come to me and they're having a really difficult time, I don't tell them that, they shouldn't be feeling that way, or, I'll just be real, right? If you've had that experience, tell them your experience, what you've gone through, and then some of the things that you were able to do when you were in that same position yourself to help you get through that. So you want to make sure that you're bringing that authenticity and you're bringing that positivity, but you're also being real. You don't want to, like Tony Robbins always says, right? You don't want to pretend like there's no weed in your gardens. If you just walk out and you say there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, right? This idea of just positive thinking type of attitude, that's not what we're talking about. Because just because you pretend there's no weeds in your garden doesn't mean there's no weeds, right? You want to be able to look out and see what's going on for real. Like go out to the garden, look down, find the weeds, and pull those things out, right? So being able to improve and get better requires you being real and authentic about what is going on in your life, so that you can do something about it. So positive denial doesn't help. And this is what I believe, that maybe more than anything, this industry helps people become emotionally stable, because the boat gets rocked a lot. You have to really deal with people all the time in this business, and it's kind of like a meditative practice, in the sense that the more adversity that you have to deal with, the stronger that you become when you come out on the other side. So that in this business, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and that requires that you have some strategies in place. Whether it's meditation or exercise or personal development is so important, because you need to master the emotional side of this business. Because the reality is, 90% of this business is psychological, it's emotional, right? The skills, when it comes to the skills that it takes to be a $1 million earner in this business, there's only 7. It's not super technical or complicated. The rest of it's all psychological and emotional. So this is one of your homework for the week, is you want to write down your 10 characteristics that you want from your ideal teammate. So we'll write this down. 10 characteristics of your ideal team members. Okay? So you want to do that, and then you want to rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in each one of those areas. So that's something easy that you guys can do tonight and put in the group by tomorrow, is really get clear about these. Because the reality is, if you're expecting someone, for example, to have integrity, and to be on time and to do what they say they're going to do, but you're not doing that, then you're not going to attract that type of people. Because the reality is you don't attract what you want. You attract who you are, right? So your character is going to be the thing that you create in your business. So if you want certain characteristics in people that become part of your organization, you have to be that in order for you to create that in your team. And as you grow in these areas, right, it's important that you be honest with yourself about where you are on a scale of 1 to 10, because in the areas where you're on the weaker side, these are areas that we really need to really focus on so that you can get stronger. Because the stronger that you get in these areas, you're going to see, okay, you start attracting more people that have that characteristic. And this is what I mentioned a second ago, right? It doesn't matter what you want. Right? What matters is who you are. And that's why we start with be, do, have. Because if you want to have people that have a lot of, that are driven, if you want to have people that have a lot of integrity in your team, if you want to have people that are focused on growth and development and rank advancing and really developing their business, then you have to be that in order to attract that. That's just the way that it is. People are not going to follow someone that they don't feel like is embodying the characteristics of what they want in their life. And that doesn't mean that you have to have it all figured out or you have to be perfect, but you have to be clear about what these characteristics are and be consciously working on them. So this brings us to point 15, which is really about intentionality. And Oprah is really the one that has taught me the most about intention and intentionality. And this is really the idea that you have to have in your mind what it is that you want to create, right? It's called it's like an intention. And they taught us in Landmark, which is the personal and professional development company that I did a lot of training with. Every time I went into before I went into a meeting, they had what was called a clearing session, which means you get out all of your complaints, you get out all of your the junk that might be in your mind or whatever, and you can put that to the side, and then you create what it is that you want out of this presentation, out of this meeting with someone. And this is a muscle, just like going to the gym. Creating intentions and creating possibilities are a muscle. The more you do it, the more you make it a habit of creating intentions and creating possibilities for how your day goes and how your conversations go with people, the more effective that you will become, and the more that you will start creating what your positive intentions are. So this is sort of an extension of that, but you want to set your intention, and then you attract and work with the leaders that are excited about this opportunity. Okay, so if you're not attracting people, or let's say you're not growing your team as much as you'd like to at the moment, you want to really check in with yourself. You know, how excited are you about the opportunity at the moment? How much are you communicating with other people about the opportunity that there is to work with USANA, right? Because if you're not excited about the opportunity and you're not communicating that excitement with other people are not just going to magically be excited, right? They're going to be attracted to your excitement and your certainty and your positivity and your communication when it comes to the possibility that they see for themselves in USANA, right? So it all starts with us. It starts here and then radiates outwards. And that's really where the intention, it starts in your mind, and then it gets created in your language, and then it gets extended out to the other person. So what we think about, we bring about. That's Carmen's phrase, but it's good because it rhymes, right? What we think about, we bring about. What I think about, I bring about. What I think about, I bring about. It's a good little phrase that you can say to yourself when you're walking or you're doing your exercise or whatever. Just really train yourself. What I think about, I bring about. What I think about, I bring about. It's very important to keep you connected to the power of your speaking and the power of your intentions. And then I believe this is super important as well. Tony Robbins also talks about the fact that success leaves clues, right? People that have success in life, they leave a roadmap. They leave a blueprint for how they got there. So you want to find someone that you admire in each one of the areas in your life that you want to take to the next level. So when it comes to fitness, when it comes to your business, when it comes to the different areas in your life, you want to get really clear about someone who models the type of lifestyle or the type of behaviors that you want, and make sure that you're using them as a compass for what you want to create for yourself. And then the best thing to do is, this is why conventions are so amazing, right? You find out the people that are really an inspiration for you, and then you just don't be shy, right? You just go up and ask them. You can ask them one simple question. What are three things that I can do right now, starting today, to help me become more successful, right? And you can do this. You can even do this on Facebook. I started doing this recently. I got really inspired by Andrea Iguodala, and she's a really amazing diamond director from I think she grows her team in Mexico, but she's a U.S. associate. And just last week, I sent her a message on Facebook, just sharing with her the things about her because she does Facebook Lives all the time, and I'm just really inspired by her energy and what she's doing. And so I just sent her a Facebook message saying, I was really inspired and empowered by the things that she was doing, and that I wanted to be more involved in the corporate stuff that USANA does in the presentations, and was really asking her about how she was creating so much momentum in her business. And so she gave me some really simple and amazing tips to help me create the results that I want. And I think Apple also had an experience with Monica Penrod, right? Where you guys met at Sweet Retreat, maybe?
Yeah, we did, and we bonded over Landmark because she did her presentation was like about fear,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of what was in her presentations and slides were like landmark terms. So then later that day or at the party, I approached her and I was like, "Are you a graduate?" And then we just started chatting. So I think I have to reach back out to her because we had one phone call, and
Uh-huh.
then no, we had two phone calls. But they weren't really about like the USANA business.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll see if I can reach out to her more about that.
Yeah. But the basic principle is there, right? People that have success, they want to be helpful. They want to mentor other people, because the reality is, for a lot of these people, once they have this success, they already really have what it was that they wanted to get in the beginning. So once they have the money, they have the success, they want to give it away, and they want to empower other people. So a lot of times all you have to do is just ask them, and they will volunteer that information. So this brings us to, I don't know who, some people attribute this to Robert Kiyosaki. There's so many people attribute this to different people, but I guess it doesn't matter who said it. But the idea itself is very powerful. And that is that your environment is a huge part of what's possible for you. Right? If you hang around with a bunch of people that are settling for the status quo, and they're okay with mediocre and that type of thing, then that's going to put a limit on what's possible for you. And so you want to make sure that the people that you're spending your time with are people that motivate you. They're things that they're people that have the results that you want. Sorry, I just want to. That's why a lot of times personal development seminars and things like that are so amazing, because you meet a lot of really powerful people, and you can start associating with people that are closer to the goals and stuff that you want. And a lot of times, you do these personal development seminars and things like that, and you realize, when you look around, you're probably spending time with people that, maybe they're not up to the kind of games or the big games that you want to play in your life. And sometimes, you're faced with difficult decisions in terms of, who you spend your time with, and the things that you spend your time doing. Number 17 is something that I think is, I can't say enough about, right? And this is where Carmen has probably had the biggest influence on me. And that is the integration of your business with the things that you're passionate about, right? She's the one that really taught us, become a nutritionist, become a personal trainer, do your group fitness instructor trainings, like do the things that you love doing. And that's ultimately, it's going to give you more energy. It's going to give you more power. You're going to find great prospects for your business by doing the things that are aligned with A, what you're passionate about, and B, figure out a way to integrate that into your business. So if you love dancing, dance. If you love painting, paint. If you love things like that, look for ways that you can get certifications in different things, right? These are the best places to find people that are like-minded and have similarities with you and would be great for your business, because there's already congruence and alignment with that person. So if there's something that popped into your mind as soon as I started talking about that, that is your subconscious mind talking to you, saying, I need to take action on this. So if something popped into your mind, write it down and send it to me, so that there's some sort of public declaration, and we can support you in creating whatever that may be for yourself. That's not pointed in anyone's direction. I'm just saying. We talked about these last time. I'll take a screenshot of this and I'll put it in the group. These are my favorite books: Think and Grow Rich, Ask and It Is Given, which is basically the book that gave rise to The Secret. Obstacle is the Way is the Way is my favorite book at the moment. Very, very closely behind another book called Mastery by Robert Greene, who is Ryan Holiday's mentor. So I read The Obstacle is the Way. Ryan introduced me to Robert Greene. Robert Greene has a book called Mastery that I'm about halfway through right now, and it's literally exploding my mind. This book is incredible, and it's about the principles of how you master anything. And he goes back through history, and he shows all of the people that have been truly great at different areas in human history, and he's extracted all these principles from them. Just extraordinary book. Number 18, believe in yourself, right? Nobody can do this business like you. Do not compare yourself to other people. That is the biggest killer of dreams, is to start looking at your results and what you're doing and comparing them to someone else, and trying to figure out whether you're good enough compared to other people. It's really, they say that comparison is the thief of joy, and I really, 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 really do truly believe that. Okay, you need to stay in your own lane and run your own race, and trust your own process, and trust your coach and your mentor, and believe that you can do this. I can promise you that you can do this. But a lot of it comes up to whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, and which voice you're listening to. Because I believe that success and leadership are both things that are developed. We're not born with a success gene. We're not born with a leadership gene. These are things that are developed over time with consistency and habits of action. And it really, all of the growth comes from areas in life where you're uncomfortable, right? You have to get outside of your comfort zone in order to grow. Anytime you're feeling like life is going a little bit easy or anything, if anytime you're not feeling super challenged by your life at the moment, different areas of your life, it's a very, very, very good sign that you have not leveled up and you're just what they call spinning your wheels, right? You're not growing. You really want to be in what they call a dynamic tension. And the dynamic tension means you want to be a little bit outside of your comfort zone so that it's forcing you to grow, but not so far outside of your comfort zone that you feel like you're drowning, right? Like it's an impossible task. Okay, so this is really the dynamic tension, is to find a nice little sweet spot where there's enough resistance, right? Like you're going to the gym. If you walk up and you pick up, if you try to bench press 300 pounds, but you've never, you can't hardly do 150, then it's going to kill you, right? So you want to find that dynamic tension where it's difficult to do the thing, but you can still do it, right? Because that dynamic tension, like when you're lifting weights, this is how your muscles grow. You find that little sweet spot. And then, like Les Brown always says, if it's to be, it's up to me. And that means you really have to build the belief and the confidence of self-reliance. And that is that I can do this. It doesn't mean you do it on your own, but you have belief in yourself that you are enough and that you have everything that it takes to be successful. Number 19 is one that I've also not been, I've been guilty of not having enough fun in the past and being sort of too motivated, too driven, too sort of type A about things in the past. So my wife has been an absolute godsend for me in this area. And that is, bringing some fun to it, not being so significant. She's really one of the ones that encouraged me in the beginning to do the meditation, to do dance breaks. I've created what they call the self-expression dance, which is every time I get ready to do a presentation, public speaking, or anytime I'm feeling like my energy's too low, I do the thing where I put my hands in the air and I run in place, and helps me get my energy unstuck. And just in the last probably year working with Carmen, I started playing ultimate frisbee again. If you guys follow me on Instagram or Facebook or anything, you can see I've started playing ultimate frisbee again, which was a big source of joy when I was in graduate school. Started playing that again. It's been amazing for me. Getting back into training for the Ironman and doing those things that may not sound like fun for somebody that doesn't do those things, but it brings me joy. So you really want to be making sure that you're intentional about bringing these things into your life that are fun and bring love and light and joy into your life and integrate them into your business. So this is one question that you can ask yourself as well, right? What is one thing that you can do to have more fun in your business, right? It's a great question. Quality questions bring about quality answers. It might be that you can set up a coffee date once a week with one of your girlfriends or one of your friends or whatever, and just practice having great conversations and ask them. You can even find somebody that's a good friend and ask them if you can practice certain things with them and have fun and screw it up and be okay about that. Go bowling, I don't know. And number 20 is you. Really, at the heart and soul of the Soulcraft method is self-love. And that is, you should never put yourself in a position where you're working so hard that it's draining all of your energy, or that you're not paying attention to your own physical, mental, and emotional well-being. I really have come to learn in my as time has gone by, that my spiritual health is really the thing that gives power and energy to everything else in my life. If I do my meditation every morning, and I do that time of reflection every morning, then the quality of my day and the quality of the results that I produce in my life are significantly different. And I know that's because I can bring a certain lightness and letting go of the significance of things, and that really comes from my spiritual fitness, is what I like to call it. So, and just remembering that you bring yourself into everything that you do. And so if you're depleted, you're going to bring that into your business. You're going to bring it into your relationships. You're going to bring it into everything that you do. So make sure that you have these spiritual practices, these self practices, whatever you want to call them, to make sure that you're not pouring from an empty cup, right? You're filling yourself up emotionally so that you can then pour into your business, into your relationships, into your business, into everything. And this is a wonderful question from Cheryl Richardson. And she says that, what if what is missing is you? And so consider that there's nothing missing, and that it's all an inside out game. And that when we master our relationship with ourselves, and we believe that we have enough, and that we are enough, and that we have everything that we need, and that we can come from that place where we're whole, complete, and perfect, exactly the way that we are, and then have that be where we come from into our business practices. So these, just to end on, these are 7 areas that you can bring intentions into your own life. Okay, you need to be really clear about your own purpose and your own passions. You need to be really clear about what your vision is for your own health and your own wellness, right? What does that picture of health and wellness look like for you? This is where dream boards are like so important, right? What does financial health look like for you? What are some of the financial goals that you have for yourself, right? What's your intention for your personal development, for the relationships that you have in your life, right? Do you have a plan for your self-care and for the connection that you have with the people in your life? You really need to bring this kind of intentionality and bring a game plan with you into all 7 areas of your life. Because if you don't have an intention, then you just have to settle for the way that it turns out. And that is super important when it comes to your own personal journey. So those are the 20. We've now gone through 20 of them in terms of the pillars of success for your own business. We're at 9:15, so we need to wrap up. But you guys have the sheet, hopefully, from last week, of all of the key points. So make sure in the group, one thing I want to see is your 10 characteristics of your ideal customer, and then on a scale of 1 to 10, where you're at. And then the other thing is, what is one thing that you know that you can do to bring, what is one thing that you're passionate about that you can do to bring into your business? I'll put that in the WhatsApp group as well. Okay, so I noticed there's a lot of nice. Okay, this is great, Inta. So I will copy your comments here, and we can. I'll send that into the WhatsApp group between us, and we can keep those. Okay, so so that's basically it for this week. Why don't we have you guys share one thing, one aha or insight that you're going to take away from the presentation today. So I will unmute you now. So share one aha or insight.
I'm scrolling through my notes here.
Do, 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 do.
Right. Now, for me, it's a physical strength. I just want to do my, like, you know, I'm just practicing more like human bridge and handstands.
Okay, great.
And doing like more like yoga exercises like that, certain positions, just improving them.
Okay, got it. And did you learn anything new today, or anything that stood out to you as particularly important?
I don't know, not really. No, I know so many things about every item. I really don't. I'm sorry to say, but it's true.
Okay, so next time you'll lead the presentation, and then we can learn from the wise master.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm going to do that.
Yeah, we could do it. You can do it, Inta.
No, you do it. You know, when my daughter was about 9-10 years old, and she was flying an airplane, and the instructor told her to land, and she said, "No, you land," and then she landed. And my teacher, he was very, very experienced, and he said, "You cannot teach flying. Either you can fly or you don't fly. You cannot teach that." So yeah, I'm not sure about doing presentations because my time is really super intense right now. I am involved in so many things. I enjoy your presentation, but there's a lot of self-development stuff that I'm very familiar with. I do not know about landmark. I'm not sure I want to know it at this time. I mean, I know a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm. No problem. We'll work on you doing the presentation in the future.
Yeah. Okay.
And how about you, Apple?
Yep. So a lot of it was a great refresher. One that really stood out for me today was number 14, focus on what you want. I would like to refresh my vision board since there are other things like that have come into play, like purchasing a home. So I think and to set the intention too, like of why, right? Like why am I going through the process?
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately this is what I want to attract into my life.
Right.
So my takeaway is to refresh my vision board.
Great. Great. And I think it would probably be a good time to maybe refresh doing like the work from the prep week and go through a lot of some of that information again. with you sort of in this new space where you're at. You got some new preferred customers coming in. You have some new flow of energy and momentum. So that it would probably be good, definitely, to get reconnected to, you know, your why and what you want to create.
Yep, for sure.
It's never a bad time to get connected. Okay, so I think that is it for this evening. Do you guys have anything else that you want to share before we close?
Yeah, can you just share that the questionnaire again with the items? Can you just share it again, because I do not know where it is. I'm just really very busy at the moment.
Okay, sure. You
It's a
mean
little crazy. I'm sorry.
no problem.
Yeah, if you just put it again, and then I'll reply, but I'm not sure if it's going to be today. It's going to be sometime tomorrow.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll put it in the WhatsApp group.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
I
Enjoy
have
the
a
evening.
question for Inta. You wrote in the comment in the chat that you hung out with the richest people in the world before COVID. What were you doing with these richest people in the world?
I cannot really talk much about it, but that's one of my line of business. I work with them very closely. And your standards go very, very much high up when you hang out with those billionaires.
Are you prospecting them for your clients?
Not really. I'm working with them. I cannot really, it's very private, but I work with them very closely.
Okay.
All right.
Are any of them single?
What's that?
I said, are any of them single?
No, I am pretty much like businesswoman. I don't look at those aspects. So I'm sure if, I live by Central Park. We have a billionaire mile. I do not know if many of them are still in New York. Some of them are. You can just go around.
What is it? Billionaire Mile? Oh, that's where all the billionaires live?
There you go.
Yeah.
Just got to go hang out in Billionaire Mile and just set your intention.
Exactly.
All attraction.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening. We'll see you next week, same time.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
All right. Good night.